matter of River Green Apartments versus Paisley Rosser, 2301884. And appearance, counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. Attorney Elizabeth Ellison, P82098 for the plaintiff.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Rossiter? Sorry, what? Okay,
Your Honor,
Ms. Rossiter?
Hold on, here. You're gonna have to go on.
Hi, my phone shut off, so kick me out of there. I'm on here now.
Okay. All right, thank you. Your name, please, ma'am?
Paisley Rossiter, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I do apologize for your delay. We're still trying to figure this online.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, so counsel, all right, you had an opportunity to speak to Ms. Rossiter in a breakout room, correct?
I did, Your Honor. If I just want to bring the court, we were here last week. She had indicated that she had lost her job as this is HUD housing, Your Honor, and she was to recertify. She did not recertify, so her balance is her balance, Your Honor. The balance is $2,454 in rent. There is court costs of $189. The total is $2,643. He has still, since last week, not completed the entire recertification. Your Honor, pursuant to MCR 4.201J2, there is no triable issue, Your Honor. She doesn't dispute the balance. She's just saying she lost her job and it should have been recalculated, but that is her responsibility to recalculate that, Your Honor. And to this day, it's still not recalculated. And we were here last week. The only thing she did was drop off a checklist and a social security card. We have no birth certificate. We have no, state assistance information. We have no information regards to paying her bills. So that is what's required. And also within the lease that's required on how to recertify. So, Your Honor, at this time, we're asking for a judgment if there is no triable issue of fact.
Your Honor, is it okay for me to speak?
Yes, but did you do what you were supposed to have done, ma'am?
I've been reaching out to Amazon. It's kind of tricky through them. I can't just walk in the job that I worked at and ask them for papers. They don't do that type of stuff there. They do that stuff online. So I've been waiting for them to reach out for me. And I have my mom and my goddad here to speak on my behalf. I've tried to send people. I've been having problems. I have my bipolar depression and anxiety, and then I've been having some postpartum depression going on, and I've had them try to go down and receive paperwork from me, which didn't have any of my information on it. And I gave her the okay that it's okay for them to come down there and get the paperwork from me. I've tried to recertify. And then when I called her the last time I brought up in court, she just cut me off and said she was going to evict me. I don't know how this stuff goes. I've sent them down there and she's refused them paperwork for me to recertify. And
Okay,
I tried to call.
Okay, hold on. If I recall correctly, is this the one where last week you said that since you're not working, you don't have to pay rent?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
So, did you just start working at Amazon?
No, I've been working there. My last rent that was paid was in May. I paid my rent in May. I stopped working there July 7th, but when I was on leave, they had me still put on leave, but I wasn't getting paid for about 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm waiting to receive that paperwork, which I will have turned in, and I could show you, I can email or, proof of.
Your Honor.
I have no idea. No. I cannot have anybody, excuse me, I cannot have anybody else talking. I don't have you identified for the record. So, ma'am, when did you begin working at Amazon?
August 25th of last year.
Okay, so you should have W-2s or something for tax purposes, right?
Online, yes.
So would that be sufficient or a starting point to get some of that information that's required?
In March, I sent her my information also when I started paying rent again, because I was on a leave and they weren't giving me money until my accommodation was approved.
And who's her?
The property manager.
Okay. Who is the property manager, Miss Ellison?
Carol, she's right here. Carol, can you come to the screen for the judge? She's in my office, Your Honor. Bring your chair, please. Sorry.
Okay, Carol, can you please state your name for the record?
Carol Diver,
I'm sorry, can you please spell your first and last names?
CAROLEDIVER.
Okay. And have you had conversations with Ms. Rossiter at all?
On the 8th of September, I did. We came into the office and did a checklist, and the only thing she returned to me was a social security card on her son, and said she would be back with the rest of the verifications.
Okay, and what other verifications do you need?
Verification of her income. She gets public assistance, FIA. Verification of who's paying the bills, her income, her birth certificate on her son that she has not brought into the office as of yet, and I'm not sure how old he is.
Okay, so Ms. Rossiter, did you pay attention to all of those items that you need to submit?
Yes, I've been working on it, Your Honor. I turned in what I had.
Hold on, what does that mean? You've been working on it. What does that mean?
I've been making calls, and I have to borrow money from somebody today to get the birth certificate. I was supposed to get it Monday, but they ended up not having it so borrowed to me, so I have to do it today.
How old is your child?
He's 5 months, Your Honor.
And you haven't obtained a birth certificate at all for him in the 5 months?
I haven't really had it, and like I said, I've been dealing with postpartum and my mental health issues that's been going on. And it's very hard to go down and speak with this lady. The way she talks to me and her body language, it triggers me. It really does. And so that's another reason why I've been having my mom and my goddad go down for me. It's not like I've been trying to avoid this situation. I've had people go down for me, and she's denied them to pick up any of my things, which it's not like it has my social security on there or anything. And I gave her the okay for my mom and my goddad to go down and help me.
Okay, Mr. Davis, you can't be driving while you're on Zoom, so can you please pull over, Mr. Davis? And so no, I don't need you. I don't need you to say anything on the record, please. I don't need you to say anything on the record. You're not identified. I just need you to please pull over and not be driving while you're on Zoom. Thank you. So, Ms. Rossiter, or actually, Ms. Diver, if Ms. Rossiter provides you with something in writing for somebody else to submit those documents on her behalf, or to get a list of what documents it needs to be, is that sufficient, or is that not permitted?
Answer the question.
Yes.
Your Honor, if I may, though.
I'm sorry, but answer yes as to which question. Is that permitted or is it not?
That would be permitted, but she has never come forward. This is the first I heard of this, that she has asked of this. We have a privacy act.
Your Honor, if I may.
Okay. Yes.
She did have a man drop off a checklist only. Your Honor, it was in June. But the note, my client wrote a note. She said, a man gave this to me on 6/5/23. And I explained to him that she needs to call the leasing office. I need more information. He said, okay. And she wrote at 11:16 a.m. So even if she's having people drop off things, it's still her responsibility to contact the office and recertify and check with my client to make sure everything's received. The checklist is not the only thing that's needed, Your Honor. My client then has to get the information, and they have to update it to the HUD website. And the HUD is ultimately who approves the rental decrease. With that being said, Your Honor, it hasn't been done. There is no guideline where it can be, retroactive to whatever date she's requesting or whatever date she no longer worked. So the rent is still due and accruing. So she owes that rent, and there's no adjustment under the HUD guidelines that would allow it to be retroactively adjusted, Your Honor. So the rent is, the issue before the court is the rent is owed. Regardless if she's, unfortunately can't go and recertify, that's completely on her, Your Honor. That's a guideline for her to be able to reside there. Moreover, she didn't have electricity in July, so she's claiming she doesn't have income, but someone paid the electricity bill because it's back on, right?
The
So
state did. The state helped me pay that.
let 1% at a time.
Hold on, I can't have you interrupt me.
Excuse me.
Just one moment, you'll have an opportunity in just one moment.
So then if someone's helping her with bills, Your Honor, and diapers and all of that, there's a notarized document that has to be signed from those people that explains that. It's because that has to get uploaded to HUD. So none of that has been provided, Your Honor. As of this day, all we have is the social security number. And that unfortunately is not any information. She said she's at work, but we have no information. She said she can take assistance, but we don't have information. She has another kid. We don't know if she's getting child support for that kid. Previously, she wasn't, and she did provide that information. She's recertified a few times, Your Honor, so she knows the documentation that is needed to recertify. This isn't her first recertification, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Rossiter, you've recertified before?
Yes, and when I called her the month of June, she's saying I turned in the paperwork. She cut me off and said she was just going to evict me. So I don't understand.
Time out. Listen, ma'am, I'm not going to get into a back and forth as to what was said, who had an attitude, who didn't. At the end of the day, there is documentation that you are required to submit for recertification. You haven't done it. You've recertified in the past, correct?
Yes.
So you know what's required.
Yes, but I don't know how this works. This is my first time being evicted from an apartment. So I didn't know if I was still supposed to do that or if I was still supposed to wait until eviction came. Until court came.
And even if you're not living at this place, you're going to want to get some additional HUD housing somewhere else, correct?
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Your Honor?
Even if you are not staying at this location, even if you have to move, you're going to need assistance in getting additional housing. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So wouldn't you want to recertify to have that additional housing option ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor. Like I said, I've been dealing with postpartum and it's been a lot going on. I've tried to call her. There's been a lot of calls that weren't answered. And when I did talk to her, she cut me off. I tried to explain the situation to her. I barely even got to get a full sentence out. She just cut me off and said she's going to evict me. Okay, bye. And hung up. So.
Okay, ma'am. Let me just say this, okay? I can understand that you may be going through a lot. You have postpartum, some other issues. I can understand that. On the flip side of that, that is not something that the landlord has to incur unpaid rent and take that on. You've had since May to recertify, and you haven't done it. You have not done what is required to be done. There are individuals that are here on Zoom that I presume would be able to help you, get you to where you have to go, take you where you need to go, help you call, anything of that nature that you need assistance with so that you can get all of the documentation that is required for recertification.
Honestly, they have their own things going on too. They're not always able to be here 100% of the time when I need them.
Okay, I understand that, ma'am. I understand that. But part of adulting is getting all of your responsibilities and documentation where it needs to be. And that hasn't happened. And when were you here last? Was it last week or the week before or two?
It was last week, Your Honor.
Yes. And the court set this for a second hearing last week. Or last week we set it for a second hearing for today. And while I can understand it's tedious work and it may take a while, it has to be done, and it wasn't done. 2 of the, it sounds as though 7 items were submitted. There isn't any, and in addition to that, even if you had submitted all that documentation, counsel's correct, there isn't anything that would say that your assistance would be retroactive and cover the unpaid balance.
Your Honor, whenever I had a job and I wasn't able to make it down right away, I'd get a call and they would say, come down here so you can recertify. So I don't understand why it don't show in her system that I'm not working either.
Yeah, you said you're on
Just like
leave.
she'd be on top of me if I have a job. I don't understand why it's that. And I have another friend that lives here. She don't pick on like that. She's and then I've spoken to other people that are afraid to speak up on how this lady treats them. Like,
Okay, ma'am,
I'm not the only person.
Ma'am, I don't know what that's all about. That isn't something that's before the court today. The issue of whether you have a job or not, there's still an outstanding balance that would be due and owing, even if you were recertified today. It doesn't go retroactive. That is why the court doesn't have any other option but to enter a judgment.
I don't feel as if I owe $1,000. That's crazy.
You don't know how much?
I can agree. I can agree to the month being old, but I barely worked that month. I only worked a week or two out of that month, and then I got fired.
Ma'am, your rental obligation is not based upon whether you're working or not working that month, or how much you're working or not working that month. Your rental obligation is your rental obligation.
I understand that, Your Honor, but how am I supposed to know if she didn't make that aware to me? She said she was just gonna evict me.
Excuse me, please don't interrupt. If you were getting housing assistance, and you needed to submit certain documentation for that assistance to continue, then you needed to submit that documentation. Your rental amount is your rental amount. Whether you're working or not, your rental amount obligation is still the rental amount obligation until your assistance that you receive from the state says otherwise. That isn't going to say otherwise because you have not submitted the proper documentation.
I tried to talk to her about it and she cut me off. So I didn't know if I was still supposed to do it, or when the way she cut me off, it's like, don't even worry about it. I'm going to evict you. So I didn't know it was I still had to turn in that stuff. I don't know how this stuff works. She didn't tell me you're still required to turn in the paperwork, but I'm going to file eviction still. I have no clue of that.
Ma'am, even if you're evicted, or even if you're not evicted, either way, there's still a past due amount that's owed that your assistance would not cover because you were not certified during that time. So, Ms. Ellison, what is the amount that you're indicating is due and owing?
I turned in the paperwork.
Your Honor, the rent due and owing is $2,454, and I can break down that for you if you'd like, Your Honor. It's not that.
Please do. Please do.
Your Honor, her last payment was May 2023, and at a 581 at that time, it left her a $30 balance on the ledger. So she had a $25 late fee for May, and then $581 is rent that was due and owing for June, July, August, and September. And there's been a $25 late fee for each of those months. And that is the amounts that we are requesting, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, what's the amount for rent? 5 what?
81.
Okay, I thought I heard a different amount for the June, July, August, September. Okay. And so, ma'am, do you understand where that dollar amount comes from?
Not really, but I mean, I guess so.
Okay, so for the months of June, July, August, and September, your rental obligation was $581. That was not paid. So that total is $2,224 for those 4 months of rent.
Your Honor, 2,324. Unless my math is wrong.
What did I say?
2,224.
2,324. That's 2324, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at. I clearly said something different. You also owed a $50 balance from May's rent because $531 was paid instead of $581. So that now brings your total to $2,374. Then there was a $25 late fee for May, June, July, August, and September, which would be $125.
Actually, I didn't include the September one, Your Honor, because it's not on my ledger, so don't even include that September one. So just $100 in late fees.
$100, $2,474, which she's requesting, council's requesting $2,454, so you saved $20 today. Plus court costs.
Your Honor, I'm showing court costs are $189.
I'm sorry, one what?
$189.
So the total is $2,643. So the court is going to indicate after hearing, plaintiff is entitled to recover possession of the property. The amount not due and owing for unpaid rent and other costs is $2,643.
Can we also talk about the?
I'm sorry, what?
I've been complaining about mice in the apartment for a minute now, and they only brought me 2 sticky traps and never called anybody out. And I've had to put money into mice traps on my own. I have a video if that's needed too.
Did you submit that request in writing or verbally to
Verbally.
the office? Okay, Ms. Diver,
Yes.
did Ms. Rossiter inform you regarding the mice?
Yes, she did about 3-4 months ago. We gave her some mice traps, and I did have Able do her building, Able Pest Control, and she never came forward and saying she still had a problem with them, so we just assumed it was taken care of. She did not call the office to let me know anything differently.
Okay, so Ms. Rossiter, did that take care of the problem?
No, no one ever came out and sprayed my apartment. So.
What do you mean nobody ever came out and sprayed your apartment?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No one's ever came. All they gave me was 2 little sticky traps, and that was that. And then the AC that's 19 years old or something from what the maintenance guy say, that's broken down to where me and my son had to sit in this apartment, 93 degrees.
Did you communicate that to the office?
Yes. When it broke down, it kept breaking down. Then the guy said it was a really old one, and they're surprised that they didn't change it out. But I've had multiple problems with this AC too.
Ms. Diver, what about the air conditioning?
I have no idea what she is talking about.
Your Honor, I also would like to just add that we were here last week and none of these issues were brought up. It was just a recertification issue. Now we're at judgment, you're entering a judgment, and now we have this list of issues, which we don't have.
I have a video of recent, a mice climbing out of my stove.
Additionally, Your Honor, my client did ask for an inspection a few months ago and to see where the mice were coming from, and she declined the inspection, Your Honor. So I can't correct it if we're not allowed to come in. I mean, we don't know why we weren't allowed to come in. We're assuming it was because of the condition of the home at the time. We could do an annual inspection in July. That's when we found out that the electric was off and the house wasn't in the greatest condition. But again, Your Honor, this is just stuff just added to try to delay the process.
No, it's not. I promise it's not. It's been a problem, and I've been speaking about it. So.
Ma'am, have you submitted anything in writing to the office?
When I spoke to a lawyer, that's when she told me I should have brought it up. I talked to a lawyer about 2-3 days ago. That's why this is getting brought up now. And she even brought up to me that this might be some discrimination going on. I didn't even tell her about nothing about the situation. I only told her about the situation that was going on. And she spoke about, do you think there's some racism going on or whatever? And I said, yeah, but I spoke with my mom about that, but she said that she don't think I should bring that up if nobody else is saying anything. But that was brought to me by a lawyer through legal aid.
Okay, and so is that lawyer going to be representing you, ma'am?
No, she said that they were going to try their best to represent me, but there's a lot of people that they're trying to get to, so they weren't able to come today. Okay,
so what does that mean? Are they going to be representing you and asking for an adjournment? Or are they not representing you? What does that mean, ma'am?
I'm still waiting to hear back. I talked to her 2-3 days ago. She said that they're going to try their best to get to my case, but there's a lot of people that they have to get to.
Okay, and who did you speak to?
I forgot the lady's name, but I can look for the number and give it to you.
Well, no, ma'am. I mean, I'm presuming if you spoke to an attorney that you wrote the name down.
I'm sorry, no. She wasn't the person that's supposed to be representing me. She was just getting information. She's supposed to be, well, she said she was gonna put my information into a couple different places so I could get help. And we also didn't talk about the harassment that's been going on either. So, but of course, she was gonna tell me that it was.
Ma'am, you have not brought any of this up until this court was getting ready to enter a judgment against you.
No, I have it written down right here. I didn't even get to it.
Okay, you know what we're going to do, counsel? I'm going to have this judgment. I'm going to indicate that Ms. Rosser does know her rights. She knows her rights regarding legal representation. She's contacted legally. She doesn't have anybody representing her here today. The court's going to indicate that at the last hearing, that none of these issues were brought up. It was only the recertification issues that the court was talking about. And now, as the court is prepared to enter a judgment, now Ms. Rosser is making claims regarding living conditions and some alleged harassment. There isn't any documentation to that effect. However, she's making these claims. I'm going to allow her an opportunity to present those claims. So, counsel, we're going to do an in-person hearing on September 22nd.
Your Honor, I would say you let her talk at length last week and nothing was brought up. She just kept talking about how she was depressed and she didn't pay her rent and she didn't update her income. So it's still not, none of those issues will change the fact of her lease requires those issues any habitability issues to be put in writing. My client has testified that nothing was put in writing. She did give her mice traps. The defendant agrees that she didn't contact them afterwards.
Your Honor.
Hold on, time out, counsel. I hear everything you're saying. I'm setting this for an in-person hearing so that Ms. Rossiter can present all of her claims that she has with supporting documentation. If there isn't any supporting documentation, the judgment will enter accordingly.
Understood, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the first time when I first came, I had a lawyer. The second time when I came, I thought I was going to have a lawyer then. I spoke to a lawyer this week. That's why these claims are being brought up. She said it was very important that I tell these things.
Ms. Rossiter, we're setting this for an in-person hearing. Next week is your time to present those claims. I'm not adjourning it any further. Next week is your time to present those claims.
Yes, Your Honor.
That does not negate your responsibility for continuing to work on submitting your documentation for recertification. And we'll set this for 10:45 a.m. Ms. Rossiter, you are required to submit your claims of what it is you're alleging not being fixed or what have you, the lack of communication or what you're alleging to Ms. Ellison so that she can respond appropriately. So she has knowledge as to what it is you're claiming. Just as though Ms. Ellison would have to submit anything to you that she would be presenting as evidence as well.
Can I get her phone number or some way I can contact her?
I am going to put the two of you in a breakout room when we're done here so that you can exchange contact information.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor, the only thing I have is the ledger. I don't know if I'll bring a copy next week, but until I know what she's claiming, I'll have nothing to submit to rebut anything because I'll just have my client bring the whole entire file. How about that? Next week.
I understand that, and I also understand that if nothing is sent to you, you don't know what to respond with, I understand that. That's why I just ordered Ms. Rossiter to submit that information to you. So I'm going to have the two of you go into a breakout room so that you can exchange contact information.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll see you next week at 10:45.
Thank you. That's breakout. So on the record, in the matter of River Green Apartments, first Paisley Rossiter, 2301884.
Good morning, Your Honor. Attorney Elizabeth Ellison, P82098 for the plaintiff, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Rossiter, you can step forward, please. Your name, please, for the record.
Paisley Rossiter, yeah.
Are you picking her up? Carolyn? Okay. All right. And so, and who's the cute one?
Dimitri.
I'm not suggesting you're not, but he's a little baby. Hi, Dimitri. Okay. So, counsel, I know the two of you spoken. Was there a resolution?
There is not, Your Honor. You can proceed.
Okay. And so, is that the property manager that's here with you?
That is correct.
Okay, ma'am, if you can please state and spell your first and last names.
Carol Diver, CAROLEDIVER.
Okay. And Ms. Diver and Ms. Rossiter, I'm going to have you each please raise your right hands. You solemnly swear from the testimony about to give this matter to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and so there's a complaint for non-payment of rent that in the amount of, but what is the current amount? Because I know we've adjourned this a couple times.
Your Honor, the current amount owing is $2,454, cost of $159.80. The balance is $2,613.80.
Okay, and Ms. Rossiter, do you believe that do you agree with that amount?
No.
Okay, what amount do you think you owe? I need you to be loud so that we can pick you up on the recording.
Your Honor, I feel like I owe 1 month worth of rent, and then there is still some repair problems in my apartment. They came out and fixed it, and my apartment's not cooling.
Not cooling?
Yeah, and they put 2 mice traps and 1 got caught, but there's still more coming out of my stove.
Okay, so, okay. So you had an issue with your heating and cooling? Is that yes?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that issue communicated to River Green Apartments?
Verbally, I know most of the times were when I went down and recertified my papers.
Okay, when was the most recent time?
I'd say when I had my godfather go down there, he was supposed to tell her that my air conditioning was down. From my knowledge, he said he did.
Okay, but ma'am, that's you're the individual that's on the lease, correct?
Yeah.
So you're bringing this to the court's attention, and that this is your defense, it appears, as to why you should not have to pay the rent. So I need some documentation or something other than what somebody else you think was supposed to do. Ms. Diver, was there ever any communication, or I'm sorry, when was the communication regarding the heating and cooling issue?
I had, yesterday she came into my office and said the heat furnace was not working properly, the air was not working properly. Prior to that, we had Airworks, it's a contracting company that we use. They came out and they replaced our heat exchanger.
Okay,
And then
when was that?
the 15th or the 18th or the 19th of September.
The 15th, 18th, or
I mean, the
19th?
18th, they came out on the 18th of
Okay,
September and they replaced the heat exchanger. Yesterday, she came into my office at 3:50 and said it still was not it was acting up, making noise. So I contacted my maintenance man, he went there, he couldn't get it to work. Airworks came out there this morning at 9:37 a.m. but I left to come here.
okay. And were they still at your apartment this morning?
No, they left. They said it's a piece that they have to replace and they won't be able to get it until next week.
Okay, and so when did you first bring Ms. Diver, were you first informed of the issue regarding the furnace, the heating and cooling?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
On September the 5th, there was a call that said she was locked out of her apartment. So the maintenance man immediately went over there and she wasn't locked out of her apartment. She told him the air wasn't working.
It was
The air.
Hold on, ma'am, I cannot have you interrupt. I'll give you an opportunity to respond. I cannot have you interrupt at all. Okay, please?
At that time, Your Honor, he went and looked at her air. And then his follow-up is that, I addressed the air conditioning problem. It was a bad capacitor, put on a new one. It was working again. He told Ms. Rosser he would check back. It stopped working after 45 minutes. And then he called the company out to work on it. And then after calling the company out, Ms. Rosser must have left because she didn't answer her door, and they came out again on 9/6/23.
Okay,
And its air works again. So they're actively working on the problem, but September 5th is the first time that they were made aware of it.
okay. And so what is the monthly rent?
Your Honor, the monthly rent, at that time, Your Honor, was $581 plus a $25 late fee every month. So,
Okay, I'm just trying to figure
Yeah,
something else out first, so.
Okay.
Okay, so Ms. Rossiter, what month do you think that is the only month that you would owe rent from? June?
Can I add, they walked in my apartment without me being present. So I don't understand why that's the problem now, why they couldn't come in and fix it while I was gone, or, because they've done it multiple times before in the past.
Okay, and how do you know that they were in your home without you being there?
When I told them, in September about the, furnace being, messed up, I had the air conditioning thing in the window, and when I came back, the air was fixed, and then the thing was out of the window. The air conditioner, Your Honor.
The window unit was removed from your window?
Yeah,
Who put the window unit in there?
I did, me and my friend. Because it was 93 degrees in my house.
Okay, and so you're indicating that maintenance or somebody came into your apartment and removed it?
My air was working again for a little bit of time.
Okay, and do you know anything about that, Ms. Diver?
I do not recall.
And Ms. Rossiter, what month would that have been?
It was around the time that I called them saying I was locked out of my apartment, trying to get some help getting my air conditioning fixed.
Okay, so the beginning of September?
Yes,
Okay, so you believe you only owe for the month of June?
yes.
And council, the months that are being requested are what months again?
Your Honor, those months are June, July, and August. And Your Honor, I would also like to make a statement. The only time that the company entered was July, when they had to do their annual HUD inspection, Your Honor. They gave notice. She was not home. They gave notice on the door that's required by HUD. When they went in there, she didn't have any electricity. So I don't believe she was staying in there in the month of July, but she still, is responsible for it. But they didn't write her a violation because you have to have electricity. So that was the month of July when they were doing their annual HUD inspection, Your Honor.
Okay. And so, ma'am, did you have electricity in the month of July?
No, Your Honor. You got shut off. But I got it on that.
I'm sorry, you got shut off what?
I got it. It shut off for about a week.
Okay, so, Ms. Ellison, I'm calculating the June, July, and August rent to be $1,743 for those 3 months, plus $75 in late fees is $1,818. And you're indicating $2,454 before court costs. So I'm trying to figure out where the other $600 and odd dollars is.
June, July, August, and September, Your Honor.
Oh, and September.
Yeah. And then
Okay,
there was.
you just indicated June, July, and August, so that's what,
Oh, I.
that's okay.
Your Honor, there was a $55 balance that carried over for the month of May. It looks like one was a late fee because she paid her rent, late in the month of May. And she had
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Including the September rent and then the $55 balance, that's where, okay,
Okay.
all right. And so ma'am, why do you believe you don't owe for July?
because I didn't work during that time, and I tried to communicate that to her, and she cut me off and said, we're just gonna evict you. When she found out my friend's boyfriend was staying with her, she gave her the chance to come down. She told her to come down and fill out paperwork. From what I recall, that's an instant eviction when you don't put somebody on the thing that's been staying for more than 6 months at their place. So, and she never told me. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I never disrespected her. I never treated her wrong in any type of way. So I don't understand why she treats me the way she does. But I feel like that was something that should have been communicated instead of just telling me that you're evicted. I feel like she should have communicated to me that we're going to evict you, but you're still responsible for turning in that certification. From what I said before, I didn't know that during an eviction process, I still had to turn in paperwork. And I don't think that even says that in the lease. So,
What doesn't say, what's not stated in the
like,
lease?
during an eviction process, you still have to return in paperwork to recertify and all that.
I'm not understanding that.
I've never, what I'm saying is I've never been told how the eviction process works and there. I never was made aware that I'm still responsible to turn in paperwork while I'm being evicted.
Well, ma'am, if your statement is that you are receiving Section 8 housing assistance and you need to turn in your paperwork to be recertified so that you don't owe any additional money, one would think that you would want to turn that in. And I'll also clarify that River Green Apartments, if you have additional questions as to how certain processes work, you certainly have the right to have an attorney. You have the right to have an attorney today. You have the right to contact free legal aid or low-cost legal services.
I didn't know because when the first time I had an attorney, but the second time I didn't. And then I tried contacting legal aid, but they haven't reached out to me yet. They couldn't help me. So I would have liked to have a lawyer, but.
Okay, well, we don't appoint a lawyer for these purposes. When did you reach out to legal aid?
Last week when it was Tuesday or Wednesday before court.
Okay, and when were you served with this complaint?
I was served about, I don't remember, I'm sorry. It's a lot of stuff going on. I have a horrible memory system, but I don't remember, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Allison, when was the notice to quit served?
Your Honor, I'll pull that up. I do believe we were here for our first hearing in August, Your Honor. This is our third hearing, but I will pull that up right now.
It only showed the September 19th, but I feel like you were present before that date.
Yeah, our other date, Your Honor, we were here September 18th. It was adjourned to the court to 9/8 at 8:50. And then we were here 9/8, and then it was, this is our fourth hearing. And then it was adjourned to 9:15, and now today's date.
Okay. Okay, so ma'am, you did have an opportunity to contact legal aid or otherwise back in August.
I have.
And the fact that you're not working doesn't mean that you're not obligated to pay rent. Is there anything in your lease that would suggest that?
If I'm not working?
Correct.
Yes, the paperwork that I turned in will say $0 and right from here on out, but, yeah.
What paperwork?
The questionnaire and then I got the birth certificate turned in and his social security number and, which I didn't know that she could do through her office. I've been struggling calling friends of court, for them to send paperwork in the mail, but this time she ended up having some type of paper that I could have signed.
Okay, so when did you receive that documentation?
When I went down and turned in this birth certificate.
I don't know when that was.
It was about, I think 2 days ago.
2 days ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, $0. But what about for the months of June, July, August, and September?
Well, Your Honor, when I got on the phone with her and I tried to explain the situation.
Who's her?
The property manager.
Ms. Diver?
Yes.
Okay,
I tried to explain to her about the paperwork and stuff, and she just cut me off and said, that we're just gonna evict you. So I didn't know that I had to, still turn that in during the eviction process.
well,
That
ma'am,
wasn't made aware to me.
if you don't turn it in for the state to cover your cost, who else covers the cost?
It was, I don't know, maybe it was a communication, but when I was telling her about the paperwork, when I was trying to tell her about it, she cut me off and said, we're just gonna evict you. So
I don't know what, when you're saying you're telling her about the paperwork, what were you telling her?
I was like, I started off by telling her like, it's a lot going on. I've been trying to get stuff in, and she's, oh, we're just gonna evict you. And the call ended. It was done after that. So,
Okay, and when did that occur?
the month of June.
Okay, do you recall that conversation, Ms. Tyler?
No, I do not. She did call, and I told her, I said, you need to bring in the verification. You stated that you're no longer employed. I said, I need you to come into the office to do a checklist. I said, I need a birth certificate and other verifications from you. And then after I had that, and I said, I need that, or we will have to go forward with the eviction because you're not complying with the lease agreement. Then on 6/5, a gentleman came into my office with this checklist. And I told him, I said, please have her contact me because I have to get more verification, and he just brought me this checklist. That's as far as that was.
Okay. So Ms. Rossiter, it appears as though the apartment complex was quite patient in waiting for you to submit the paperwork. Has all the paperwork been submitted now?
Yes, she brought most of it in last week. And I did, and I are on her paperwork. My question is, if she was able to bring this to me so quickly within 2 days, why didn't she do it back when?
Well, that's where I was going. That's why I was asking if you have it all now. And so, ma'am, now that you're faced with eviction, you got all the paperwork. Had you gotten all the paperwork in back in June, we wouldn't even be here.
Girl, that's not what she said, because I remember telling my sister, my aunt, my godfather, my mom, I was so upset about the situation with how she talked to me that day. That is a lie. She never told me that.
Okay, and here's what I'm going to say as well. Sometimes there are different takeaways from conversations. So I'm not going to get into what the exact conversation was on either end, right? I've heard from her and I've heard from you regarding that conversation. But at the end of the day, that conversation does not have an impact on this court proceeding. You were able to get everything that you needed to get within the last week and a half. You could have done that back in June, and you wouldn't even be here today, I would presume. And you didn't. And so the fact that you weren't working in July, August, and September does not negate your obligation to pay rent. And moving forward, you may not have to pay rent because you have all of your documentation now. Did any communication come down from the Section 8 housing unit indicating that they were covering your June, July, and August, or your June, July, August, and September rent?
I've been reaching out to, I'm waiting on DHS to call me for just in case if they do charge me the $2,613, I think she said. Yes. At first they didn't accept me when I applied the first time because I forgot what the reason was, but I contacted them again. I'm just waiting to hear from them.
Okay. So ma'am, I can understand your situation, but what I'm going to indicate is that there is not a legal basis to not enter this judgment. The heating and cooling issue that was brought to the attention of the property manager was addressed, and it continues to be addressed.
And the last problem that's been going on, which she said was our fault, the tenant's fault, because we leave the door open when we bring our groceries up. But how are we supposed to bring our groceries up?
Okay, and I can understand that. And they're working, they put mice traps in there, right? When you say all the mice, how many mice are there?
I've killed 6 alone, and I've seen multiple more with my own traps.
And when did you bring the issue of the mice to the attention of Ms. Diver?
It has to have been, in the winter time. I can't give an exact date, but it was around the winter time when they first started coming.
Okay, and Ms. Diver, when were you first notified regarding the mice?
She contacted me a few months ago. We gave her some mouse traps, and then on May 25, 23, Able Pest Control did the whole building, a building free. And after that, I have not heard from her stating she still had a mouse problem.
What was that, ma'am?
I have spoken.
Okay, so what did Able Pest Control do?
They went in and sprayed, it's odorless. And they sprayed, and then I haven't heard anything from Ms. Rossiter since, until I was in her unit 2 days ago to take care of a couple of work orders that she addressed last week when we was on the Zoom meeting with you. And she said that she still had mice problems, so we gave her some mouse traps, and I did call Able Pest Control, and we're gonna be out next week to go through her unit again.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Because last week she stated that I didn't open my door, so, and she said probably because my DT was off and my house was supposedly, junky or whatever she said, that don't make sense to me. But they supposedly came in and sprayed, but then they're saying maybe because I didn't want to open my door, so I'm kind of confused on that one.
Yes, Council.
Your Honor, they sprayed in May, so I have no idea what she's speaking of, and they went out there 2 days ago to address concerns that she made last Friday when we were about to enter the judgment. Then they will be out again next week. Whatever she's referring to, it's nonsensical, because I'm not sure what she's speaking of.
Right,
We
yeah,
talked about a conversation that didn't.
right. So Able Pest Control was out in May, right? What conversation are you speaking of?
Over the Zoom call, I forgot what her name is, Allison or, Elizabeth, I'm not sure. She said maybe she didn't open her door because her DCE was off and, her house was in, sustainable. It's on the Zoom call, so. But now they're sprayed, I don't understand that. But there's still mice in my apartment. And I have a recent video of a mice crawling out of my stove.
Okay. And what was the date of that video?
I can, do you mind if I look at my phone?
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may. Your Honor, if I may, if she doesn't bring these issues to the management, and we only when we got to court did we make aware of these, and we've been actively resolving these issues. So, in regards to whatever conversation that I had on the record last week, I can reassure that it's being taken out of context, because that's not the conversation, but I'll leave that to.
Okay.
Is there some sort of Wi-Fi I can get into to get on, the app?
Is it an app or is it on your text messages?
It's in the app.
Okay, there is, I don't recall, we just have new stuff. Do you know what it is? I don't, I have to see what that is. And I will look at that, but I will also state that it does not, it appears as though when those issues are brought to the attention of management, that they are being addressed immediately.
Your Honor, I have addressed them. Anytime that I went down there and recertified, because I've lost jobs in the past, anytime that I went down there and recertified, I brought them to her. Some nights it's not a problem, but other nights they are a problem. I hear them climbing on my stove and getting into stuff, and sometimes it's not an everyday thing. I may see them once a week or twice a week or more times than that in a week. So yeah, I don't call her every day when they're not coming. I might think the issue's resolved, and then I see another one coming.
Okay. And so, Ms. Diver, have any other units had any issues regarding mice?
No.
Okay,
My neighbor has.
I'm sorry?
My neighbor next door to me, she told me that, because she has a cat, so her cat scared the mice away, out of her apartment. So, she said that she has one in her apartment. And, my neighbor across the hall from me told me that the last lady that was there had some type of roaches or something in mice, and she was a really filthy person, like she had a whole bunch of stuff in there and all that. So I believe this has been a problem for a while now.
Okay. All right, well, the court's going to
Can you send that to me?
say after a hearing or after a trial that there's going to be a judgment entered in favor of the plaintiff. The court has not heard any reason that the defendant would be obligated to not, or would not be obligated to pay rent. While the court can appreciate that Ms. Rossiter was out of work, she did not submit the required documentation as required that would then reduce her obligation to zero from the months that she was not working. She now has received that information, and moving forward, she owes $0. But as of now, there isn't anything that would indicate that Ms. Rossiter has her June, July, August, and September rents covered by that same housing voucher through Section 8. And maybe housing assistance, I don't know. There's not any written documentation to that effect. And so at this point, and the court will also indicate, as of the repair issues on the mice issue, the testimony would suggest that when the issues were brought to the attention of management, that those issues were addressed in a reasonable and appropriate time. And so the court is going to indicate after trial that plaintiff does have the right to recover possession of the property. The amount now due going for unpaid rent and other costs is $2,613.30, 80 cents. If that amount is not paid on or before October 2nd, the court or the plaintiff may request an order, may apply for an order of eviction. Partial payment will not prevent the court from issuing an order of eviction. The court will also indicate that additional money may be owed if damage to property occurs or rent continues to accrue, and no new judgment will enter at this time. Anything else, counsel?
Your Honor, I prepared a judgment. I don't know if you would like.
I can sign that, and then Ms. Rossiter can take that to DHS and perhaps
There's 3 copies, Your Honor.
proceed accordingly. They may be able to proceed accordingly.
There's 3 copies of the same thing.
Okay, thank you. All right, and ma'am, were you able to pull up that video?
No, my other phone broke, so it's not in this one, and I need Wi-Fi to download.
My court officer just gave you the Wi-Fi.
Oh, I wasn't sure what that was.
And so Ms. Rossiter and Ms. Ellison, you can stop by the window and
I went out and grabbed my goddad's phone, because it's not letting me download on my phone. It's making me put in a password. Is it okay if I run out and grab the phone?
okay, yes, you can. I didn't realize you had anybody here with you, because otherwise I would have probably had you have your son stay with your godfather.
He was making some phone calls, so I thought it was best.
Okay, ma'am, I can understand that, but this is a court proceeding, so this would probably trump those phone calls as far as that goes, but.
I can leave them out there.
Okay, and so if you want to grab the phone, and then I'll take a look at that. To see where we're at with that information. Let's go off the record.